bringing the people behind our food to life.
Today we're going to make a chocolate cream pie. First, we're going to start by rolling out our pie dough, and then we're going to make our chocolate pastry cream, and then we're going to put it all together and put fresh whipped cream on top and chocolate curls. So the first thing we want to do is get your pie dough out and ready. To roll it out, get yourself a good floured surface. Something else that's really important is a really good sturdy rolling pin. That's gonna make a lot of difference. And I just roll in counterclockwise circles. What you wanna do is stretch out the gluten all in a similar direction, which will prevent it from shrinking as you bake it. And especially in a cream pie where we're gonna blind bake it, it's really nice when it stays put, it doesn't shrink too much. Throughout the whole process, you wanna make sure that it's not sticking to the counter anywhere. So a good dusting of flour, not too much. And as I'm turning it, I'm also feeling to make sure that it's even all around. And if I've got a spot that's too big, I'm working on getting that spot evened out so it's all the same thickness. Once you feel like it's big enough for your pie dish, you can go right in here. Don't worry if it's not a perfect circle. Your pie dish is a perfect circle, so it's gonna be just fine. And then once you get it in there, tuck it into the edges. Give it a lot of slack as you're tucking it in. And then you can go fold it over. Now you're just like making a nice edge to make your crimp with. And then you want to start your crimp. Pick a nice spot that maybe looks like it's already starting to crimp, like right here. And then go all the way around. You have strong fingers when you're making the crimp. And it's best to just go one time around. Otherwise, you kind of start compromising the dough, and then it doesn't want to stay in its pretty shape that you just made it. But you can go back and do a little minor correction if you need to. And then this is going to go in the freezer and chill. All pie doughs, you always want them to be cold all the time. So in every step of the process, cold butter, cold dough, bake it off while it's cold. So that's why we're gonna put it in the freezer and it's gonna chill for at least 15 minutes. And then we're gonna bake it off in the oven. So the next step is to make the chocolate pastry cream part of our chocolate cream pie. First, we're gonna take 3 cups of whole milk and put that in a saucepan. We wanna save a little bit so that when it comes time to tempering our egg yolks, it'll be nicer to whisk those egg yolks together. So we're gonna reserve just a tiny bit, about a 1/4 cup or so. To our milk, we're gonna add 2/3 of a cup of white sugar. And then we are also gonna get a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we have that stuff gathered. We can turn our burner on and get this heated up. You don't want to scorch the milk, so you want to do it on a medium flame. So give that a good whisk, and then you can just let it heat up over here. The next part is to separate our eggs and the cornstarch to get ready for tempering. We're going to add 1 ounce of cornstarch to our bowl to start with. And then we're going to separate our eggs. We want to do 4 egg yolks. If you want to reserve your whites, you can. And then, once you've got those all separated, you can add the remainder of your milk. Then whisk this up. You want to whisk it up until you don't see any more lumps of cornstarch. So just be sure to get it nice and smooth. And then this guy, occasionally give it a whisk. Now we're ready to make the chocolate part of the process. So in a large bowl, you want to add 2 ounces of unsweetened chocolate, and then 5 ounces of a semi-sweet or bittersweet, or a mix of both is also a really great idea. And then an ounce of butter. I prefer unsalted. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And now, the last thing we want to do to get ready is to put a mesh strainer over your chocolate bowl. If you have any egg particulates that like accidentally got scrambled in your milk, that's going to strain those out. But we want to have this ready to go. So we're all set up. We've got our 3 bowls of ingredients, the chocolate, the eggs that are ready, and this milk that is heating up. This milk's getting pretty close. As soon as it starts getting steamy, then we're probably ready to temper our egg yolks. So with your whisk, get those going, and then pour in the hot cream. Then you're going to return this to your stove. And now these are all hot, and you can feel the side of the bowl to make sure that these got hot, so that when you dump in the eggs in here, you're not just going to make scrambled eggs with your cold eggs going into hot liquid. And then make sure this gets back up to a little simmer. That way you're not standing here stirring it for the rest of your life. And now we're going to pour the tempered yolks into our cream, whisking constantly. And now we're just going to whisk this until it gets nice and thick. It should take about 30 seconds to a minute. But you want to make sure you're whisking constantly. This not only cooks your eggs, it thickens the pastry cream, and also is going to cook the cornstarch so you don't have a gritty pastry cream. So it's left whisk marks. The bubbles on top have dissipated, and we're ready to pour it right into our chocolate. And then strain it out. Then you can switch to a spatula and melt your chocolate. And at this point, we're stirring it so that the butter melts, all of our chocolate bits melt, and we have a nice, smooth pastry cream. If you have any unmelted bits of chocolate, once it goes in to chill, they're just going to stay in little pebbles. And what you want to achieve is the smoothest, silkiest pastry cream. And once it's all melted and nice and smooth, then we're going to put a layer of plastic on the top, just a plastic wrap, in order to prevent it from getting a skin. And this is going to get pressed directly on the pastry cream. And then this is going to go in the fridge to chill. It's going to take a couple hours to get that nice and cold so that you can fill your chilled cooked crust. Now that we've got our chilled pie shell, we're going to fill it with pie weights and blind bake it. A coffee filter is a really great thing to use. If you don't have a coffee filter, parchment paper is a great substitute. So the biggest thing is you want to get a bean, any, the cheapest bean that you can, and then you want to fill it up your pie dish with these beans. Something that's super important is to make sure that your pie is filled completely to the top, and that's going to prevent it from slumping down the sides. So once you've got that all prepared, then it's going to go into a hot 425-degree oven, and it's going to bake for 15 minutes. So after it's been in the oven for 15 minutes, we're going to take it out and remove the beans. You're going to gently pull this filter back and make sure it's not sticking on your pie dough. And then just in a swift motion, you want to just lift the whole thing out. There you go. And then the next thing you want to do is take a fork and prick it all over. And that's going to keep it from bubbling up when you put it back in. And next, we're going to put this in for about 6 minutes. And that's going to bake the bottom of the pastry. And after that, we're going to brush it with egg white, which is going to keep a nice barrier between the pastry and then the chocolate pastry cream that's going to go in so that the crust remains crisp. So after the 6 minutes and your crust is golden brown, then we're going to brush it with a little egg white. It's going to create a barrier between the chocolate pastry cream and your pie dough. So you got a good seal on there. You just want to put it back in the oven for just 1 minute, and that is simply to cook the egg. Once you have your cooled pie shell baked, then we can do the final assembly of everything. This is our cooled chocolate pastry cream. And we're going to spoon this in here. And then you want to make a nice smooth top for it. And once that's all smoothed up, we've got some freshly whipped cream, and that's going to go on top. This is about 1.5 cups of whipped cream. Once you get all of this on there, you can give it a spread. And then it's kind of nice to use the back of a spoon to get some nice peaks. Then the last thing is to put some shaved chocolate curls on top. So what you're going to do is get yourself just a block of chocolate. Something in the semi-sweet 55%-ish is best. It's going to curl the best for you. So you just place your hand on the chocolate to warm it up. You don't want it to get melty, but you need it warm enough that you can manipulate it. So once you get it warm, then take a sharp knife and you're just going to make these curls. Depending on the size of your chocolate, you can get really big ones or tiny ones, but a variety is nice. Continue to put your hand over it to heat up the next layer so it makes curling it easy. And then once you've got your chocolate, you can dust it over the top. Continue to put as much on there as you would like. And then you just go all over the whole thing and your chocolate pie is ready. So it doesn't take much more than a few bowls and some good chocolate to make a chocolate cream pie from scratch.
I don't think either of us really had a good idea of what we were getting ourselves into, and if we did, perhaps we would never have done it because it's hugely challenging. But basically, he was just missing his pies.